What do you mean?
What?
I don't think there's any way out of it.
The flight plan was the plan.
The flight plan is not going to happen.
Why not?
It's a terrible plan.
Have you heard of Frederick Valentich?
What?
Who?
Frederick Valentich.
Sounds German.
Points, but no, he was Australian.
Oh.
Frederick Valentich was 20 years old when, on October 21st, 1978, he decided to take a trip from Moorabbin. It's either Moorabbin or Moorabbin.
I think Moorabbin.
Moorabbin sounds cooler. I like
It does.
Yeah.
Angela?
I think you play guitar with yes.
Moorabbin.
Moorabbin, Australia. I just think of fucking Moorabbin. Lady.
Moorabbin.
Anyway.
All right.
Slightly cross-eyed. So, Frederick Valentich was 20 years old when he took off from Moorabbin, Australia to King Island. But along the way, he decided to call back to Sydney and say, I have something following me, and I don't know what it is. The air traffic controller said, what exactly is your problem?
Right to the point.
Valentich said, is there anything under 5,000 feet flying above me?
So he's talking back to the radar guy who's looking at what's
Control tower.
around him. Okay.
As a 20-year-old with 150 hours of experience, he didn't have much, but at the same time, he was flying around Australia at Cape Otway, and he was like flying away from Australia, which is a continent, to this small island. So he radioed in, is there anything 5,000 feet below? And the air traffic controller said no. Why? He said, it looks like there is a green light hovering around me, coming in at unspecified speeds. So he goes, explain again. What does that mean? He says, it doesn't look like anything that I can recall from my own, again, this is 1978. It doesn't look like anything I can ascertain as of right now. What is it currently doing? It's hovering over me at about 1,000 feet. So this light, this metallic shaped craft, which he said he thought he saw 4 different lights, 4 different green lights, maybe like landing craft, is now above him. And
so they're just whipping around him like he's standing still.
Yes. And at that point in the conversation, which lasted about 5 minutes, it was now above him. He is on top of me, and and this is crazy. He's like,
disconcerting.
He even said he's obviously toying with me or trying to bully me. The air traffic controller.
Did he assume that alien's gender?
Well, he actually. Yes, sure.
Some serious air rage.
The air traffic controller did an interview with Robert Stack for Unsolved Mysteries.
Gotta love Robert Stack.
So this was in 1978 when this incident happened. This was in the late 80s, mid to late 80s when this episode aired.
Robert Stack ruled the world.
Well, the air traffic controller was in his 40s and 50s, but he said he seemed genuinely worried. And he makes that a point by then following up with, he was very honest and he was genuine with him saying, you have no picture of what is going on around me right now. Here's where the story kind of takes a nosedive. Frederick Valentich was later kind of exposed by his father as a huge and avid UFO buff.
Okay.
He had 150 hours of flying experience, which is not that much.
No.
He was only 20, though, so I don't know how Australia kind of like regulates that license.
They don't have laws
You know what?
in Australia.
Australia in the 70s was probably pretty wild.
No, there's nothing but just lawlessness and
You just
and
needed
chaos.
to make sure you had a kangaroo as your co-pilot. And
Yeah.
Like,
get up there, mate.
he's 20 years old.
We'll accept a wallaby.
He's
and
got
he's
your
like,
roo?
he's leaving the continent, and he's 20 years old with 150 flying hours. Like,
It doesn't sound like a long time, but 150 hours flying a plane, like, for 150 hours? Like that.
Let me hear that again. That's oddly accurate. That's a 2-seater Cessna.
And he had already been flying that day. In fact, he made what amounts to like 120-mile flight. And then when he landed at the airport, he did not give them his intention, which basically is a heads up, just like, what do you plan on doing? You landed at an airport. You obviously have a plane. Where are you going from here? He said, and then whatever happened, like nothing was really said about where he was going, but the
kangaroo signed the flight order, and they were like, shit's gassed up, go ahead, we can. I mean, boy's ready to go, he's ready to fly.
They go, oh, he's in a pink budgie smuggler, that's cute. All right, Mr. Kangaroo Co-Pilot. And off he went.
This week on Kangaroo Co-Pilot.
So he takes off. They're like, okay, well, when you're in the air, you can figure that out. You know, like,
Just figured out.
It's Australia again, yes.
That's the thing. So there are all of these unknowns. He was a 20-year-old pilot, and he's not saying anything to anyone. So they're like, oh, okay. And then it just happens to say, oh, there's this green light above me. Now it's 1,000 feet. And then it just happens to end the radio communication for about 17 seconds, a low, sick, scraping metallic sound. And the air traffic controller says, Roger, go again. And then the communication is lost. And that has not changed. Since 1978, Frederick Valentich has been missing at sea, flying to King Island. Things take a little turn because at the same time, Australia should have better radar access. So everyone kind of gets involved. No one saw. Every independent radar company did not see anything in the sky that day other than his plane and then a point of no contact where its assumed elevation hits 0. Then a couple of people started going to the cops. One of them was a couple in their early 20s. They've never been, because Australia, you had the story about the man on the beach.
The Tamim Shud case we talked about.
Tamim Shud.
Right. They want to maintain the fidelity of the investigation, right?
Exactly. So nothing has really been leaked to the public, but a couple came out in their mid to early 20s and said, we were actually watching that part of Australia, and my husband said, check this out. And we saw a green light hovering above. Unprompted. They said, it's about time we say this.
What?
We went to the cops, and that's exactly what they said. And it was flying and
So
hovering.
was it public knowledge? Was it public knowledge that he admitted that he'd brought this whole UFO thingy?
Everything that I'm saying was not broadcast to the public.
Okay.
Everything is just over the years.
Saw.
This is exactly what's happening. Another person at the time who requested anonymity said he set up his camera and just was taking just every 3 seconds, just, a couple of flashes. And in one of them was this strange metallic-looking ball in this vapor cloud. Frederick Valentich said, I don't know what it is, as it's flying all around him at incredible speeds. The air traffic controller said, can you identify? And because of transcripts, almost like sheet music, they will show when to inflect. And the air traffic controller was inflecting, meaning, what are you seeing? It was like interrogative. And everything Frederick Valentich was saying was declarative down. He said, it looks like it's metallic. It's in a cloud. I don't know what's going on. And the air traffic controller would say, okay, well, can you identify it? And he would say, after a 17-second silence, he said, it is not an aircraft. That was the last transmission. The photographer who had set up his long exposure that day caught a metallic aircraft in a vapor field, which is exactly what Valentich said was happening around him. He couldn't see. One plausible explanation, which just blows my mind, was that he was flying upside down in Australia and thought he saw himself in the reflection of the waves.
Swamp gas.
It's a total swamp gas explanation.
Infamous Moravian swamp gas. That's just the
Fata
swampiest.
Morgana. Oh, he saw a crazy sea.
Yep.
And so that doesn't make any sense. His dad then later said, well, he was an avid UFO believer and he believed in it. This case went nowhere from that point forward. The search was called off. But here's the thing. He tried out twice for the Australian Royal Air Force, and he was both times denied because of his infractions. So check this out. He flew into restricted airspace once. And again, he was 20 when he vanished. And then deliberately, I didn't know this was a crime, deliberately flew into a cloud twice.
But that's
Did the
just
cloud press charges
What
or
do
something?
you
Like
do?
cloud violation? It's water vapor.
I see
mean,
a cloud. I got to take evasive maneuvers. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I got to not.
If you're a pilot, you got to fly into a cloud at least. Wee!
Do you have to make sure the Care Bears aren't in it before you kill them?
I didn't even know that was a crime.
Wow.
The first time they plowed into a happiness
Deliberately.
bear or whatever.
Cloud rights.
Deliberately
Jeez.
flew into a cloud twice. They're like, look, right, mate. Once we can.
Everybody gets one. Everybody gets one.
The second time, now you just know it. Now you just.
This
I
is
just make
before
it
we
tick.
Now
started
you're
keeping
taking the
things in
piss.
clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. There you go. That was great.
Burn through my
That was
mixtape.
fucking amazing. Several decades after 1978, a farmer who, again, requested anonymity said, I can remember seeing a metallic shape in my farm the next day. But before that, before I went to bed, I saw a plane stuck to the side of a magnet in the sky.
What?
Wait, okay. Okay, someone said this how long after?
Probably a couple of years, maybe decades. I don't know, but he's
Big difference.
never ever been proven. But I mean, why would you say?
Just to confirm it, just to if you say you saw that, you're gonna get print.
Well, I mean, what if the
I saw
government?
the plane. It was all stuck up the thing up there.
What if
that
the
still
government
happen?
says you're going to live forever? Just never ever say those words again. I'd be like, you got it, boss. I'm going to live forever.
You gonna trust the government
Never.
to make you live forever?
Anyway, that's all I got to say. Maybe something happened, but we cannot take these planes.
I think.